everybody, welcome back to my channel. Happy spring to everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm so glad you could join me today. And since May is right around the corner, I want to wish all the mothers a happy Mother's Day. And if Mother's Day hasn't happened yet and you're looking for a present for your mom, this is the video for you because we're going to be learning how to make a beautiful floral themed wire wrapped necklace. And we're going to be using the gorgeous beads that came in Sam's bead box for the month of April. The name of the box was Secret Garden. So as you can imagine, the box was filled with beautiful floral themed beads and the colors were absolutely stunning. I love the colors that Sam put in the April box. Now, if you're not familiar with that box, I'll leave a link down below so you can go check it out. And if you haven't joined their Facebook group, I'll leave a link down below. You should really check it out because that's a great way to look at what other people are doing and share ideas and get inspiration. Now, if you haven't worked with wire before, it's never too late. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do it. It's not as difficult as you may think, but just like everything else, it takes practice. So if you tried and it didn't work out the first time, perhaps it didn't turn out the way you wanted it to. Most of the time, other people don't see the flaws. And don't forget that this is artisan jewelry, so it's not supposed to be perfect, all right? And what I've noticed as an artist through the years is that even though I'm not happy with whatever it is that I make, other people seem to like it. So anyway, guys, the reason I'm saying all this is because we are going to be working with wire and it's not that easy, okay? It's a little bit challenging for some people, but just be patient with yourself and do the best you can and I'm sure you'll do fine. Now, before we get started, let me remind you to please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, because it really does help my channel and it helps me as a content creator to create more videos for you. And if you do subscribe, please don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can be notified the next time I release a video. Also, don't forget that I leave timestamps down below, so if you want to skip forward to any portion of the video, you can do so. So now that all the formalities are out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with the tutorial. And here's Sam's bead box for the month of April. As you can see, the name of the box is Secret Garden. Let me open it up. As you can see, there are tons of beads here. So what I'm going to do, instead of putting you through the torture of pulling out the packets, I'm going to go ahead and pull out the beads that I think we're going to be using today. So let me go ahead and do that and I'll be right back. So here are the beads that I want to use today. I've already played around with the beads a little bit, so I kind of know what I'm doing. And I did come up with a design earlier this week, and these are the beads that I used. So I'm going to try to reproduce that design today. Let me go over these beads real quick with you. These are Czech glass bell flower beads. The color is emerald teal. They measure 6 by 8 millimeters in size. And here we have some Czech glass center drilled flower beads. They're lilacs. The color is crystal AB and they measure 16 millimeters in size. And here we have some Czech glass primrose beads. The color is Vitrail mix. They measure 10 millimeters in size. And I did want to use some of the leaf beads, so I pulled out these 2 Czech glass leaf beads. The color is Eden mix and they measure 12.5 by 17 millimeters in size. And here we have some pebble chips. These are Czech glass pebble chips. The color is emerald teal and they measure 2.5 by 5 millimeters in size. And here we have some Czech glass Druk rounds. The color is pink crystal AB and these are 6 millimeter size beads. And here we have some really pretty Czech glass pressed daisy flower beads. The color is blue luster and they measure 8 millimeters in size. I did want to use one of these large Czech glass leaf focal beads. The color is green teal rainbow luster and it measures 16 by 25 millimeters in size. And of course I had to use a few of these beautiful star rice beads. The color is sweet springtime and these measure 3 by 6 millimeters in size. Now these are just for the focal part of the necklace. I may use these for the strands. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to use, but it's a toss-up between these beads or the Druk rounds. We'll figure it out later on. And I had to use these beads because these remind me of flower buds for some reason. These are Czech glass twist barrel beads. The color is spring blue mix and they measure 7 by 11 millimeters in size. So to assemble the focal part of this necklace, we're going to use some artistic wire, and this is 24 gauge as you can see, and it's silver plated. And I chose 24 gauge, guys, because for me, that's the easiest to work with. If you use anything thicker than 24 gauge, it's going to be really wiry looking, and I don't necessarily like that look. But if that's what you want, because you want something sturdier, by all means, use something a little bit heavier than 24 gauge. But it will be difficult to do the twisting if you use anything thicker. And the other thing you have to be careful with is that you want to make sure that the wire that you use fits through the holes of the beads, okay? Let me just move these up a little bit so they're not in the way. Now I'm going to start by cutting myself a very long piece of wire, and I know some of you are going to freak out, but you're going to need 6 feet of wire because we're going to be cutting it in half. So essentially you'll have 2 pieces of wire, each will be 36 inches long. And I know that seems like a lot of wire, but that's exactly what we're going to need for what we're going to make today. Obviously, if you make a focal piece that's smaller, you will need less wire than what I'm going to be using today. The good news is that you're going to get to watch, you're going to get to see how big the piece is, and then you can decide later on if you want to make it for yourself, how big you want the piece and how much wire you're going to need. So let's go ahead and start. And by the way, guys, I may move out of frame a few times throughout this tutorial because I'm working with a lot of wire and it's very difficult to handle so much wire on camera without hitting the lens. So you'll have to excuse me for that. I'll do the best I can to try to give you a nice clean video, but I'm just giving you a heads up, okay? Now you can either cut yourself a 6-foot piece, fold it in half and then cut it, or you can cut yourself 2 pieces that are 36 inches long. It's up to you how you want to do it. I'm actually going to cut myself 2 pieces that are 36 inches long just to make it easier. So once you've cut yourself one piece, you can just put the ends together like this and just measure out a second length that's identical. So here's my wire, as you can see. So we're going to start by forming a wrap loop at this end, and I'm going to do it the easiest way I know how because we're working with 2 wires here, so it's a little bit challenging. So the way that I like to do it is to work with one piece of wire at a time initially, and then I put them together, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to be using some round nose pliers, and you need to figure out ahead of time where you're going to place your wire because you want both pieces to be identical. So you need to memorize exactly where, or use a marker and mark your pliers. But basically I'm just going to start by doing the beginning of a wrap loop. So I'm going to go down about, I would say 2.5 inches, something like that. And then I'm simply going to bend my wire like this, take the tail, this tail, and wrap it around the nose of my plier like this. And now flip your pliers around and continue to wrap to the back, just like you're doing a wrap loop. So this is what you should have. And now you're going to remove the pliers, and this is the first piece. Let me go ahead and get the second piece now. So here's my second piece now, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. So here are my 2 pieces of wire, and I have the beginning of a wrap loop. I haven't done the wrap yet, obviously, and that's what we're going to do next. And to do that, you need to put them together. So the way that I put them together is by sliding one inside the other like this. You want to make sure that they're lined up, and if you have to use your pliers, by all means do so. So let me show you what we have so far. As you can see, they're both lined up and one is tucked inside the other. I hope you can see that. I am going to put my pliers back in for this next part. And now what you want to do is you want to take the tails and go around one time like this. I'm going to switch hands now. And now using some pliers, I'm going to grab the tails and do some wraps as neatly as I possibly can while keeping the 2 wires together. It's a little challenging, but you do want to make sure that you keep tension, the same tension on both pieces of wire. So you can do between 3 and 4 wraps. It's up to you how many wraps you want to do. I think I did about 3 wraps. It looks like I've done more because there are 2 wires there, but I'm pretty sure it's 3 wraps. So now I'm going to snip off the excess. And this part's very important. You need to tuck in those tails. You don't want anything sharp sticking out at all. Run your finger across it to make sure there's nothing sharp. Make sure your wraps are nice and tidy and everything's tucked in nicely. And if you need to straighten out your loops, by all means do so. And that looks pretty good. As you can see, we have those 2 pieces of wire together to form a loop, and we have the nice neat wraps. And now we have these 2 pieces of wire to work with. Now, I strongly recommend that you get some nylon coated pliers because you may run into issues where your wire might get kinked, and you don't want any kinks at all when you're doing wire wrapping. You want your wire to be nice and smooth the entire time. So we're going to go ahead and load our first bead. I recommend that you load a small bead at the very beginning. So I'm going to load one of these Druks. And I'm going to bring it all the way down to where the wraps are. So here it is, as you can see. And now this part's kind of important, guys. So each bead is going to be on a stem, kind of like a vine, and you get to decide how long each stem is. But you also have to take into account the width of the bead, because that's going to take up space along the wire. So let me show you real quick. I've got my bead at about 3/4 of an inch from my wraps, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap my wire around the bead. Let me just do it and show you. I'm taking both ends. This is the long end and this is the end that's by the wraps, and I'm going to wrap them around the base of this bead. So this is what you want. You want the two pieces of wire to cross in the middle of this bead like this. If you take anything away today as far as technique, this is the technique that you need to remember, and you're going to use this technique throughout the entire piece. If you cross your wires anywhere else along the base, it's going to give you a different result. So what this does is that it centers the bead on each of the little branches that we're going to be twisting. So let me show you what we're going to do next. So here I'm holding the two wires with my non-dominant hand, and with my dominant hand I'm going to twist the bead into place. So you need to take a look to see how the wires are crossed. You can twist to the right or you can twist to the left depending on which wire is on top. In looking at the way I have my wires crossed, I know that I need to twist towards the right. So let me show you how it works. You're going to hold the beads like this so they're separated, and then you're going to use your index finger and your thumb, and you're going to begin twisting all the way down until you reach the stem or the base. Just like that. It's as simple as that. As you can see, my bead is centered right on this little stem here. So now that I've reached this wire, I'm going to go ahead and twist both of them like this. And this is important as well. You need to twist these two pieces while holding these two with your non-dominant hand. And I'm going to go down, I don't know, maybe 1/2 inch, something like that. It's up to you how long you want to go down. So this is what we have so far. As you can see, the twists are nice and neat and they're pretty uniform. And since I have a bead on this side, I'm going to place a bead on this side now. And I'm going to use some small beads again. So I think this time I'll use one of these rice beads. And I'm going to bring it down. So here it is near the twist that I just created. Now this bead is quite wide, so you need to take that into account, because when you go to wrap your wire around the base, it's going to take up space. So I'm going to bring it down to about here somewhere, and now I'm going to wrap this side, and now I'm going to wrap this other side. Let me just do it and show you. As you can see, the two wires are crossing at the base of the bead. And now let me go ahead and place it into position so I can hold it with my non-dominant hand like this. I'm going to grab the bead now and twist. And now that I've reached this wire, I'm going to stop, turn my work around, and this is what we have so far. And now I'm going to twist these two wires by moving this piece here. And you can go down as far as you want to. Like I said before, it's up to you. And that looks pretty good. So this is what we have so far. The nice thing about this is that you can actually manipulate these beads. So if you want this one to face this way, you can just turn it like this. So now let me go ahead and add another bead. I think I'll add a green one now. So I'm simply going to thread it on like this, bring it all the way down, bring it all the way to where your work is. Now this one's going to be a little bit different. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to take the wire and wrap it around the side like this, and then cross it at the base like this. I know you probably don't like the idea that the wire is exposed there, but trust me guys, it will not be noticeable once the whole thing is done. So let me go ahead and twist this one in place now. There it is. Pretty simple. Turn your work around. And now I'm going to twist this piece to make my way further down the necklace. So this is what we have so far. I think it looks really nice. I'm really liking the result. And again, if you wanted to move this bead around, you could, because this necklace will actually have a front and a back. And the reason I'm saying that is because these beads have the beautiful AB finish on the front, and on the back they're more transparent. So I definitely want these to be the front. So this necklace will have a front side and a back side. So let me go ahead and add another bead. I think this time I'm going to add one of these pretty primrose beads. So let's go ahead and thread it on. Just like that. Bring it down. As you can see, I have it on this piece of wire now. And the reason I put it on this piece of wire is because I wanted to switch sides. I didn't want to do another twist on the same side where this one is, if that makes any sense. So this one's going to be twisted the same way as this one is. So now you're going to have to decide which side of this flower you want facing the front. As you can see, this side is silver and this side isn't. You could do either side, they're both pretty. But I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it around the back this time. So once again, you want to cross those wires at the base like this, and then hold on to both of them with your non-dominant hand and go ahead and twist the bead into place. And keep twisting until you get to the base. And then stop. Now at this point, I don't know which is the front and which is the back yet, so I'm not going to worry about turning this one anymore. I'll worry about it later. I'm just going to continue to add more beads. And I think I'm going to add one of these here. Now I am going to center this one on the stem because I don't want so much wire showing. This is a very long bead, and if I were to do the same thing as this one, the exposed wire would be too long. So I'm going to take this wire now and wrap it around the base, and then wrap the other side around the base as well. So this is what we have. And now let me go ahead and twist it. So there it is. Let me go ahead and twist these two wires. And here's what we have so far. It's looking pretty nice. Let's continue. Let me go ahead and add another one of these Druk beads. And bring it down. And now I'm going to wrap my wire around the base of it. Like this. Twist it into place. Like this. Turn my work around and twist the entire thing, making my way down the piece like this. As you can see, I have about 1.5 inches or 2 inches worth of beads here. So now I'm going to start branching out a little bit more, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Let me thread on 3 of these chip beads. Bring them down. So what I mean by branching out is I'm going to create a few more extensions from the main stem. So instead of bringing these beads down close to where the main stem is, I'm going to start twisting them further down the wire. I'm approximately about 1.5 to 2 inches away from the main stem. So let me go ahead and wrap my wire around the base of these 3 beads. You want them nice and tight. So here's what you want, something like this. And now let me go ahead and twist. I'm going to go down about 1/2 inch like this. And now I'm going to add another bead, and I'm going to add one of these here. I'm going to bring it down pretty close to where this stem is, wrap the wire around, and twist it into place. So this is what we have so far. As you can see, I have 2 little branches here. And now I'm going to go ahead and twist further down to about here. As you can see, I have a branch coming out of this wire with two other little branches. And now I'm going to work with this one. I think I'm going to add one of these beads now. And I'm going to bring it down pretty close to where the main stem is, as you can see. So now let me go ahead and wrap the wire around the base of this bead, like this, and twist it into place, like this. Now I'm going to take this wire and wrap it around this one here. The goal is to try to eliminate single wires. So if you see a wire that's by itself, you need to create wraps like this to get rid of the single wire. So now before I go any further, I need to decide how big I want my piece to be. And I'm getting pretty close to the center, so I need to start adding some bigger beads. So I think what I'll do is add one of these flowers now. Now this one's going to have wire showing on both sides, but because it's this color, you're not going to notice it that much. So basically, I'm just going to take it and wrap my wire around like this. Make sure that the bead is centered like this, and then go ahead and twist it into place. And there it is. And now I'm going to take this tail. This is the one that I used to wrap this one and fill up this space here. I know it's a little confusing, but let me just go ahead and turn this whole piece, because my goal is to bring it down to where this other wire is. Just like that. And that looks really nice. I love that. So let me go ahead and add another bead to this one now. I think I'm going to add one of these rice beads. And I want this one to be pretty close to the main stem, so I'm going to bring it down like this, wrap my wire around the base of it. Make sure that it's evenly positioned between those two wires, like this, and then go ahead and twist it into place. So there it is. Let's bring this wire to this side now. So this is what we have so far, and you can manipulate these however you want. So now what I'm going to do is create another little stem here. So let me go ahead and twist these two wires. Make my way down a little bit like this. I'm going to add a bead to this wire now. And I think I'll add one of these. Bring it down. And now you have to decide where you're going to position it. So I'm going to position it somewhere around here. Keep in mind that this is a very big bead, so you need to take that into account when you go to wrap your wire. Mine's going to be pretty close to the main stem, so I'm not going to do too many wraps. Okay. So now let me go ahead and twist these two wires. Like this. And now it's time to add my focal leaf. So I'm going to add it to this bottom wire here. And this one's pretty easy. You just thread the wire through the top like this. Bring it down to where the work is. Wrap your wire around the base of it. Make sure your wires are crossed like this, and then twist the bead into place. By the way, guys, you don't want to twist too many times because the wire will break if you twist too much. I had to learn that the hard way initially when I first started doing this work. But this is 24 gauge wire, and it'll take a lot to break it. You'd have to twist it an awful lot of times before it will break. So now let's go ahead and create another stem here by twisting these two. Like this. Like I said before, you can arrange your beads however you want. So this is what we have so far, and this is pretty much one side of the focal. So we're going to work our way up to the other side now. I definitely want to add one of these beautiful flower beads. So I'm bringing it down to where the leaf is. wrap the wire around and twist it into place. Just like that. So here's what we have so far, pretty nice. I feel like I need to add a bead in here, so let me add one of these. So let me bring it down to this little space here. And now I'm going to go to the back, take the wire and wrap it around the back and twist it into place. Just like that. And now let's go ahead and create another stem here. So here's what we have so far. I feel like I need to add a bead here. So let me go ahead and add a bead to this wire now. I think some of my beads actually rolled off my mat because that's what happens when you work with wire. Let me go ahead and add one of these now. So I'm bringing it down to where the stem is, like this. Wrap my wire around the base of the bead. And then twist it into place. And now let me take these two wires and twist them. And this is what we have so far. As you can see, I'm working my way up this side of the necklace now. But that's basically the technique, guys. You take your two wires, you create a little twisted stem, you add a bead, you twist that into place, and then get your two loose wires, twist them again to create another stem, and so on and so forth. It's the same technique over and over. You just have to decide which beads go where, and that's the difficult part. But usually I keep my large beads in the center of the focal, and I keep the smaller beads near the ends. So in order to move things along a little quicker, I'm going to go ahead and speed up the film. You'll get to see the technique, but you'll see it in fast motion. I'm going to finish this side and then I'll come back and do the loop at that end. So let me go ahead and do that and I'll meet you back. Okay, I'm back. As you can see, I've finished adding all the beads that I want to add. So this is pretty much how I want it. So now I'm going to go ahead and finish this end. So basically what I want to do is create a loop exactly like this one with as many wraps as I did on this end. So I'm going to grab both of my wires here because I want to create loops below where the pliers are. So let me go ahead and bend right there. And now I'm going to wrap the wires around the nose of the pliers. Flip my pliers around and continue to wrap to the back like this. And now I'm going to create one wrap with my hands like this. And now I'm going to switch hands. And now let me see if I can continue to wrap these two pieces of wire around as neatly as I can. Let me switch to my pliers. Let me see if I can straighten out my wraps and make them a little bit neater. And that's as good as it's going to get. So let me go ahead and snip off the excess. Try to get in as close as you can without cutting into your work. And just like before, you want to definitely tuck in those ends. Straighten out your loop if you need to, and try to get your wraps nice and neat. If you need to use your pliers to straighten out the loop, by all means do so. Arrange your beads the way you want them. And that's pretty much it. That's all there is to it. So now I'm going to create some strands, and I'm going to use the rice beads to create the strands. So basically I'm going to do a beaded chain. Now I don't know how many beads I'm going to need, but this piece measures about 3.5 inches from this part to the loop. So let me show you real quick how we're going to do this. And I'm going to be using the same 24 gauge wire. You're going to cut yourself some pieces of wire, and I would recommend about 2 to 2.5 inches. If you're advanced, you could probably get away with less. I'm going to cut myself some more in a few moments, but I wanted to show you this part real quick. So basically you're going to grab your wire about 1/3 of the way down, kink it like this, switch to this portion of the wire like this, wrap the tail around the nose of your pliers like this, flip your pliers around, and continue to wrap that tail to the back like this. Remove your pliers. Take this loop now and insert it into the loop of your focal piece like this. Grab the loop with a set of skinny pliers. Take the tail and do a couple of wraps. And since this is very thin wire, you could probably do 3 wraps. It's up to you how many wraps you want to do. I'm doing 3 wraps. And now let's cut off the excess. Definitely tuck the little tail in. Now let's thread on this rice bead like this. Grab the wire at the top of the bead. Line up the bottom loop. Kink your wire, switch to this portion of the wire now and wrap the tail around like this. Flip your pliers around, continue to wrap to the back like this. Remove your pliers, grab the loop with some skinny pliers and do a couple of wraps. As many wraps as you want. I'm doing 3. And now let me cut off the excess. Tuck the little end in. And there's the beginning of the strand. So I'm just going to continue to add beads just like I added this one, until I get the desired length. So let me go ahead and speed up the film and I'll meet you back. Okay, I'm back and I completed the strands, as you can see. Now I did place the colors in a specific order because I wanted the top part of the necklace a little bit more structured since this part's so organic. So basically I have a sky blue, green, sapphire blue, champagne, sky blue, green, sapphire blue, champagne, sky blue. And I did measure the necklace. It measures about 17 inches, maybe a little bit more with a clasp. But obviously, guys, you can make it as long as you want to, depending on how you like to wear it. The other thing that I did is I placed my leaves at the bottom of the necklace, and I did that because they dangle a little bit, so I didn't want any of them pointing upward. I wanted them down below, so if they dangle, it's okay. But anyway, guys, the only thing that we need to do now is add the clasp. I have 2 jump rings here. They're 6mm jump rings, and I have a lobster claw clasp. So let's go ahead and put the clasp on this side. Let's open up the jump ring, attach the clasp, and then attach it to the necklace like this. And now let's close up the jump ring. And now let's open up this jump ring and attach it to this side. This is just going to have the jump ring only. Close up the jump ring really well. And we're done with this necklace. And I absolutely love it. I think it's so spring-like. and so romantic and beautiful. I love the colors. I love how Sam and his team curated the box. And even though I didn't use all the beads that came in the box, I used pretty much all the colors that came in the box. So anyway, guys, as always, I'd like to put it on and show you what it looks like. So let me go ahead and do that and I'll be right back. Well, what do you think, guys? Do you like this necklace? Do you think your mom would like this necklace? I know it's not for everybody. It's a little bit of a statement necklace, as you can see. But when I look in the mirror, I don't see the wire that much, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of an illusion necklace. Maybe it's because the wire is a light silver color and you don't see it as much. I don't know, but I like it anyways, and I love all these colors. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that you can make this a little bit smaller if you wanted to. You don't have to have as many beads. But I like it the way it is, and I think it's gorgeous, and I hope you like it as well. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Happy Mother's Day again to everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye.